We have done a great many things of which we should be very proud of in our history. We have also done some things that not only should we be ashamed of, and I think we are, but that have harmed us greatly. Most importantly to me is that each one of these 3,000 people in Camp Liberty were disarmed by American troops in 2004 voluntarily in exchange for a piece of paper, which they carry with them to this day. And that piece of paper is signed by the American commander of the American forces at the time who disarmed them. And this can be testified to by any number of American generals and colonels, Colonel Wes Martin, David Phillips, there are others. They each carried this piece of paper. The piece of paper said that these are protected people under the Geneva Conventions, and the Americans will take responsibility for protecting them. Now, there's loose talk in the State Department and other places that, well, our obligation ran out in 2009 when we turned everything over to Iraq. That is the kind of talk that we cannot have. That is the path to cynicism, the cynicism in American foreign policy, not the nobility which we seek. You do not sell out 3,000 unarmed people because they become inconvenient, because you hope to pacify a group of people who do not have a history of keeping their word and who are, as we sit at the table, killing Americans by supplying IEDs to the Afghan Taliban. Those people must not be sell out. I do not oppose an agreement with Iran. I oppose agreement that costs 3,000 innocent lives of people who have been pro-American. That's what I oppose. There have been 4 or 5 attacks on this group of people. First, while they were living in Ashraf, and second, at our behest when they moved to Camp Liberty, which subsequently became more or less a prison camp. The last time they were attacked by either Iraqi forces, a number were executed. And not only were a number executed, they were executed with their hands tied behind their back, and some of them were executed on hospital gurneys after they'd been wounded. And on the person of those people who were executed in cold blood were the little cards signed by the American personnel, the military personnel, that guaranteed that the United States government would stand behind the preservation of those people's lives. We are not keeping our word. I cannot imagine a situation where we would negotiate. We would keep our word to those who have murdered Americans, but we would sell out the people who are innocent victims. I don't think the problem in leaving Iraq is simply that the Iraqi government won't let these people out at the behest of the mullahs in Iran. I think part of the problem is our government. We could recognize these 3,000 people as refugees and take them into the United States tomorrow. And we need to stand up to the mullahs. And if the mullahs today are going to break off these negotiations because we took 3,000 refugees into this country, then these are not the people we ought to be negotiating, because if they'll kill the negotiations over that, they're most likely going to kill the negotiations as soon as they get out from under the economic problems the sanctions are causing them and get what they want. This is not the time to exercise cynicism in American policy. This is the time to exercise nobility. This is the time, as the president said last night, to stand up for American greatness. And the way we stand up for American greatness is to stand up first for the 3,000 people in Iraq, who are Iranian dissidents whose safety we promised to guarantee. And they are far more important to me than making deals with people with the kinds of records. 100 people already hung in the first month of this year, publicly from cranes in many cases, all over Iran. Those are the kinds of people we're negotiating with. Let us remember not only who our friends are, let us remember what this country stands for. That ought to be a condition of these negotiations, and we ought to sign no agreement until those 3,000 people are safe. Thank you very much.